China attacks U.S. nuclear plants and faces devastating retaliation. September 20th, 2025, 03:42 a.m. From the depths of the Pacific Ocean, Chinese Type 093B nuclear submarine Long March 19 drifts like a ghost, launching 6 CJ-10A cruise missiles, each traveling at nearly Mach 2.8 toward the southern coast of Hawaii. Their target? The Pacific Nuclear Research Facility, America's most secretive facility, where the Minuteman X hypercore, a warhead designed to penetrate any defense system on Earth, was being tested. Inside, more than 2,100 engineers and defense contractors toiled through the night, unaware of the approaching death. The Aegis Ashore system on Kauai suddenly activated, firing 4 SM-3 interceptors, destroying 3 incoming threats. However, 3 missiles got through and crashed into the core of the facility. Within seconds, flames engulfed the entire complex, burning warehouses and electrical substations. Beijing calls it strength. Washington calls it war. Within an hour, 5 F-15EX Eagle II fighters, 3 B-2 Spirit bombers, and 2 EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft took off from Andersen Air Force Base, Guam, heading straight for the Taishan nuclear power plant in Guangdong. What will happen on the Chinese coast? And what price will Beijing pay for awakening the dragon? Let me find out. September 20th, 2025, 3:15 a.m. The peaceful skies over Honolulu, Hawaii, were suddenly shattered. In just 6 months, the United States had built something the world was never supposed to see. Buried deep within the soil of the south slope of the mountain was the Pacific Nuclear Research Facility, a multi-billion-dollar fortress of steel and silence. Construction began in February 2025 with 4,200 engineers, 7 defense contractors, and nearly $18.6 billion in federal funding. No press releases, no satellite disclosures, just the dim glow of cranes working after midnight. The project was supposed to represent the next generation of America's nuclear deterrent. Inside, the mission was clear. Build the Minuteman III LGM-35A Sentinel, a nuclear missile said to be capable of penetrating any defense shield. Its core chamber would generate 14.7 gigawatts of heat, nearly 10 times the power of the Hiroshima atomic bomb, and scientists claimed it could be ready to launch continuously for 11 months without refueling. Pentagon engineers called it the Hammer of the Pacific, a weapon designed to end wars before they began. The underground complex was 96% complete. 4 logistics hangars, 2 backup substations, and a command bunker 72 meters below sea level, all protected by Aegis Ashore SM-3 interceptors off the coast of Kauai. In theory, Hawaii was impregnable, but in reality, it had become the most desirable target on Earth. In Beijing, the alarm was sounding. High-resolution imagery from the Gaofen 13 reconnaissance satellite had picked up strange radiation signatures off the southern coast of Honolulu. Within 48 hours, the Central Military Commission had convened an emergency meeting at the Sanya Naval Command Center. The conclusion: red threat. Analysts warned, if the United States perfected this weapon, the nuclear balance would collapse. And so, in the cold, pre-dawn hours, China authorized Operation Silent Tide, a preemptive strike designed to neutralize America's new superweapon before it was even tested. The countdown had begun. The Pacific Ocean sleeps peacefully under the silver moonlight. Waves gently and steadily lap against the coral reefs, unaware that 180 nautical miles from shore, death awaits silently. At a depth of 125 meters, the Chinese Type 093B nuclear submarine Long March 19 drifts like a ghost. For 3 days, it remains submerged, its engine cold, its crew whispering in the red light, waiting for an order from the Sanya Command Center. Begin Operation Silent Tide. At 3:42 a.m., the order is given. It quietly surfaces, takes up firing position. In just a few seconds, 6 vertical launch silos fire one after another, launching 6 CJ-10A cruise missiles, each equipped with a 450-kilogram thermobaric warhead, a weapon designed not only to explode but also to vaporize air, steel, and bone. Their orbits locked onto a single coordinate, 20.865 degrees north, 156.331 degrees west, the beating heart of America's new nuclear fortress. For 42 seconds, the Pacific horizon lit up. The Aegis Ashore defense radar on Kauai picked up 6 sonic signals penetrating the lower atmosphere. Red alerts sounded throughout Pacific Missile Defense Command. Operators shouted coordinates, interceptors armed. 4 SM-3 Block 2A missiles roared skyward, tracing white arcs into the night. The first 3 intercepts were hits. The explosions exploded like stars, flinging debris into the upper troposphere. But 3 missiles penetrated. Faster, lower, past the last radar cover. The sky split. At 3:48 a.m., 3 fireballs slammed into the Pacific Nuclear Research Facility. The shockwave shattered windows 9 miles away. A column of hot white smoke rose 3,200 feet, about 960 meters, into the air. 4 logistics warehouses burned to their steel frames, consuming 3.8 million liters of jet fuel and coolant. 2 electrical substations were obliterated. The Lo-Fan-Ung plunged into darkness. Emergency teams counted 320 injured, including 89 severe burn victims and 42 smoke inhalation cases. 17 deaths confirmed before sunrise. Estimated damage, $6.3 billion, a quarter of Hawaii's annual GDP. Sirens wailed across Honolulu. Roads were clogged with evacuees as 2,000 residents fled inland. From Pearl Harbor, drone footage captured the flames glowing like a second sun. By dawn, the world woke to a single headline: Nuclear attack on U.S. soil, Hawaii in fire. America's pride had been humiliated, its shield punctured in its own backyard, and deep inside the Pentagon, rage burned. America had been attacked, not in theory, not in a training exercise, but in blood and fire. The clock of vengeance had begun to tick. According to you, what weapon will America use to strike back? Missiles, bombers, or something even deadlier? Comment your guess below. While fires raged across Honolulu, the Pentagon's Situation Room glowed with screens, maps, and urgency. Satellite imagery showed the Pacific Nuclear Research Facility reduced to ash. Its once glorious silos collapsed like a scar on the island. The death toll had passed 17, and damage was estimated at more than $6.3 billion, the costliest attack on American soil since Pearl Harbor. At 6:30 a.m., the President convened an emergency meeting with the National Security Council, General Dan Kane, and CIA analysts. Voices clashed, data was transmitted, and silence fell only when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff declared, "This was not an illegal attack. It was a sanctioned military action. The world must witness our response." Within minutes, Operation Iron Phoenix was born, a targeted retaliation designed to cripple China's self-esteem without causing global destruction. The target chosen, the Taishan nuclear power plant in Guangdong Province, China's first third-generation reactor, worth $28 billion and supplying electricity to 13 million homes. Destroying it would be a message written in fire. At 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time, the President signed the executive order. The strike package was assembled from Andersen Air Force Base, Guam, the nearest launch point in the Pacific Rim. 5 F-15EX Eagle II fighters, each loaded with AGM-158J ASSMER cruise missiles. 3 B-2 Spirit bombers armed with GBU-57A/B massive ordnance penetrators. 2 EA-18G Growlers carrying advanced jamming pods and decoy drones. By 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, the attack was airborne, 10 aircraft cutting across the Pacific at Mach 0.92, locked in formation at 41,000 feet. Their path, 4,200 kilometers west toward Guangdong. Estimated arrival 1910 local time. No press briefings, no hesitation. Only encrypted transmissions and silent resolve. For the first time in half a century, America's war wings were not defending, they were hunting. Will America's next move be a cautious warning or total destruction? Stay tuned to see the results. As twilight descended over southern China, the air above the Taishan nuclear power plant shimmered with static. Farmers in the nearby villages of Taiping and Zhuhai saw streaks of light, faint, silent, and swift, cutting across the evening clouds. They were not stars. They were weapons. At 1910 local time, the first wave arrived. Two EA-18G Growlers, cruising at 40,000 feet, unleashed ALQ-249 jamming pods, flooding Taishan's radar grid with false echoes. Every Chinese screen lit up in chaos. Hundreds of phantom targets, no clear direction. The entire HQ-9B air defense system, valued at $2.4 billion, was blinded in under 38 seconds. Then came the thunder. 5 F-15EX Eagle, two fighters emerging from the upper stratosphere, executed precision dives at Mach 1.3. Each aircraft released 4 AGM-158JASSMER cruise missiles, programmed for deep penetration strikes. 20 missiles plunged toward the complex, each carrying a 1,000-pound warhead. Impact. The first wave tore through the auxiliary control tower, igniting the coolant reservoirs. The second wave obliterated 2 reactor containment domes, sending molten debris into the air. Surveillance footage captured a fireball 2,900 feet high, visible from Macau's skyline, 70 kilometers away. Within 3 minutes, the second formation arrived. 3 B-2 Spirit bombers, flying radar invisible at 38,000 feet, released 6 GBU-57AB massive ordnance penetrators, each weighing 30,000 pounds, designed to punch through concrete and steel like paper. They fell silent, then detonated beneath the surface. The ground heaved. Shockwaves rippled outward. The subterranean chamber collapsed. Hydrogen lines burst. A cascading series of secondary explosions consumed the fuel storage silos, turning the site into a glowing crater half a mile wide. Casualty reports surged. 700 personnel injured, 250 severely burned, 70 confirmed dead. Radiation alarms peaked at 7.2 sieverts, forcing emergency crews to retreat. Damage estimated at $31.8 billion, crippling Guangdong's power grid by 40%. From orbit, U.S. satellites captured a single, searing image. A red wound on China's coast, glowing against the darkness. In less than 9 minutes, the pride of China's nuclear program lay in ruin. And halfway across the world, the Pentagon finally exhaled. The message was clear. You strike our heart, we burn your crown. September 21st, 2025, United Nations Headquarters, New York City. The world woke to smoke rising from 2 horizons, Hawaii and Guangdong. 2 hells on earth made for revenge. Newscasters were shaking. Stock markets plunged 2,300 points in the first hour, and global oil prices soared 18% overnight. Across the Pacific, both countries were silent. No threats, no speeches, just the rumble of satellites scanning the scorched earth. At 9 a.m. Eastern Time, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency summit. 11 nations called for restraint. 2 demanded accountability. No one could deny the truth. The world had just witnessed the first nuclear war between superpowers since 1962. Analysts across NATO and ASEAN scrambled to reassess the world order. This, a British envoy declared, was the first direct nuclear attack by major powers since the Cold War, and both came away intact. The implications were terrifying. Deterrence had failed. Retaliation was now part of the strategy. In Honolulu, older residents recounted the blast in trembling voices. The ground shook 3 times. Windows shattered. It felt like everything was over. Hospitals were overwhelmed. 2,000 residents were evacuated inland. In Guangdong, 2.4 million households lost power, plunging entire districts into darkness. By evening, the Pentagon confirmed that no further operations were planned, but U.S. naval fleets were still steaming through the South China Sea. A signal not of words, but of steel. Beijing's state media broadcast a single sentence. The lesson is clear. Balance must be created, not assumed. The confrontation ended not with a treaty, but with a tremor, one felt in every capital from Moscow to Canberra. In just 36 hours, humanity had come to the brink of a new era, where reactors and runways matter more than armies, and the price of pride is measured in megawatts and ashes. The lesson was written in ashes. Unchecked power always comes at a price. The dust had not yet settled, but the message was unmistakable. In the span of 2 days, the world had witnessed what many once thought impossible. Nuclear facilities reduced to rubble, not by atomic bombs, but by precision strikes and the will to retaliate. Hawaii and Guangdong were no longer symbols of progress. They were smoldering monuments to the fragility of modern power. For the United States, the destruction of the Pacific Nuclear Research Facility was a wound to its pride and its people. 17 dead, hundreds wounded, billions lost. Yet in the same breath, Washington had demonstrated that it could answer fire with fire, striking deep into the heart of China's energy grid, crippling a plant that powered millions, and sending shockwaves through Beijing's corridors of power. For China, the humiliation was profound. A fortress declared invulnerable was gutted in less than 20 minutes. Its citizens now stared at darkened skylines. Its leaders confronted the harsh reality that no shield is perfect, no sanctuary safe. And for the world, the lesson was chilling. If two nuclear giants could cross the threshold of striking each other's reactors, what stopped the next war from spiraling into catastrophe? Every capital, from Tokyo to Berlin to Washington itself, now faced the same question: what if we are next? This was not just a clash of missiles and bombers, it was a new chapter of warfare, where the line between deterrence and annihilation blurred overnight. A warning written in fire across the Pacific and the South China Sea. If you believe the world must see these truths, if you want to understand where tomorrow's battles will be fought, then stand with us. Like, share, and subscribe so that together we can uncover the next story before it erupts.